Hey everyone, so today we are going to reteach some major concepts from Unit 2 that we struggled on the test before you retake. So what I'd like you to do with the page in front of you is to try number 1 on domain and range on your own. So pause this video, try it on your own first, and then check your answer. So please take this moment to pause the video. Okay guys, so hopefully you have paused it and tried the problem, and now we are going to look at the domain and range. So firstly, you have to know the difference between domain and range. If you don't know the difference, you're going to get it wrong on the test again. Domain is X and range is Y. So since it is a paper version, we can draw all over it, yay. So our domain, we go to the X-axis, we can see the smallest X value is -9. We put an X in the middle, notice I left some space. And then the biggest X value is +2. One thing to note that if we have an open circle, we put less than. If we have a closed circle, then we put less than or equal to. So at -9, it's an open circle. And at +2, it's a closed circle. So that is our domain for that graph. The range, which hopefully you have also tried, Y goes in the middle because it's Y values. And we do the same process. We draw lines to the Y axis. The biggest value is 3. I put it over here, guys, because it's least to greatest. 3 is the biggest Y value. The smallest Y value is down here at the bottom, -6. Okay? Now, once again, look at those dots to tell you whether you're going to put a less than or a less than or equal to. -6 has a closed dot, and +3 has an open dot. If you have any questions right now about question 1, you need to raise your hand for Coach Player or Miss Janasek to come to your table for help. Okay, let's look at question number 2. Once again, pause the video, try it on your own, and then unpause to see the explanation. Okay guys, so hopefully you have already paused it and tried it and are now listening to how to solve it. For Matt's birthday, he takes up to 5 friends. So keep in mind, how many total people is that? We've got Matt and up to 5 friends. So the maximum number of friends is 6. Okay. The cost per person is $21.75, and it asks for a reasonable domain and range. So the first thing we need to note is that the range always depends on the domain. So the cost depends on the number of people. So that means domain is the number of people. And we would write it by listing the number of people because we can't have part of a person. So we're not going to say from 1 friend to 6 friends because then it includes all of the decimals in between. So we're only going to put the whole numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 because there are 6 people. Don't forget about Matt. Okay? Don't forget about him. He's part of the party. It's his birthday. So from there, we need to look at the costs. So how much does 1 person cost? How much do 2 people cost? Keep in mind, we didn't start at 0 because otherwise there would not be a birthday party at all, okay? For 1 person, we already know it's $21.75. And then we multiply that by 2 for 2 people. And we get $43.50. And then we add another $21.75 to get $65.25. Okay. And then we add another $21.75 and we get $87. And then we add another $21.75 and we get $108.75. And lastly, for 6 people, add another $21.75 and we get $130.50. So keep in mind, if there are 6 people, then there should be 6 different costs. And those are all the different costs that you could use depending on how many people come to his birthday party. So just remember, don't forget about Matt. And remember, the domain is the number of people. The range are the costs for those people. Let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Take a moment to pause the video once again to look at question number 3 and try to solve it yourself. You're trying to find the rate of change. And remember, the rate of change is slope. So pause the video, try to solve it. Okay, guys, so hopefully you have paused the video and have tried to solve number 3. Let's look at it. It is a graph, rate of change. Another word for rate of change, very important, rate of change is slope. Okay, and how do we find slope? Rise over run. So pick 2 points and see how much it's rising or how much it's running. You could also make a tiny table if you wish. I saw a lot of you actually make tiny tables on this particular problem. So I can put in points. For instance, 0, 0 is a point. And then I also have a point here at 1, 400. So we can see that the y's are increasing by 400 and the x's are increasing by 1. Now, a lot of us on the test made the mistake of forgetting that it's change in y over change in x. It is 400 over 1. And 400 divided by 1 is 400. That is our slope or rate of change for this problem. And what that really means in the real world is that there are 400 feet squared painted per gallon of paint. So if I buy a gallon, I know that I'm going to be able to paint 400 square feet. Now pause the video and try question number 4. Okay, guys, so hopefully you have tried question number 4. And once again, it is asking us for the same thing. It's asking us for the slope of the line. Now, a lot of us use the slope formula, but to me, the easiest way here is to make a tiny table. I'm going to put in the first point, 5, negative 11. 5 is the x, negative 11 is the y. Then I put in the second point, negative 9, 17. Now we need to see how much it's increasing or decreasing by. So from negative 11 to 17, a lot of us thought that only went up by 6. But guys, it's not going from 11 to 17, it's negative 11. So negative 11 to 0 is 11 units, and then it goes all the way up to 17. So that's really going up a total of like 28 units. It's really a lot. And then the x's are decreasing from 5 to negative 9. Think of your number line. If you're at 5 and you go all the way to negative 9, how many units have you decreased? We have decreased 14 units. Now we find the change in the y divided by the change in the x. The change in the y is 28. The change in the x is negative 14. And 28 divided by negative 14 is negative 2. Make sure you actually divide them, please. Okay, don't leave it as a fraction. You should reduce it as much as possible. Type it in your calculator. 28 divided by negative 14. It is negative 2. I hope, guys, that you are checking your answers and that if you are struggling or you don't understand this explanation, that you raise your hand for your teacher to come assist you before you retake the test. Okay, pause the video to do the last question, number 5. Hopefully you have unpaused the video now and have worked through this problem. A lot of times we struggle here, guys, with this type of problem because we forgot how to do it. So when I say f of negative 8, what that means is anywhere there's an x, I'm replacing it with negative 8. So I'm going to take this equation. To find f of negative 8, I'm going to take this side, and anywhere there's an x, I'm going to replace it with negative 8. 1 minus, and notice how I left a blank where x is, and I'm going to replace that x in the equation with negative 8. So notice that makes for a double negative. Okay. So 1 minus negative 8 really is the same thing as addition. So f of negative 8 equals 6 times 1 plus 8. Take care of your parentheses first, guys. We know what 1 plus 8 is. I know we do. It's 9. And the last thing we need to do is multiply the 6 and the 9 together. Which is 54. So that is our final answer. F of negative 8 equals 54. Please keep in mind that negative 8 is like your input, your x's. Okay, you're inputting an x. and then your output, 54, is like your y. All we're asking for is what is your output. When we input -8, what output do you get? Okay, make sure to use order of operations. Now that we have finished this, if you have any questions about these 5 problems, you need to ask your teacher before you take the retest. Otherwise, if you do poorly on the retest, you're going to have to come into tutoring this week because it's the end of the 9 weeks on Friday. You'll have to come into tutoring this week to retake it again. Okay? So please make sure that if you have any questions to ask your teacher at this point. Thanks for listening, guys, and have a great week.